Hello everyone and welcome back to the Wrench Fool. So in this video I want to go over some very important information that was just recently given to me by another YouTuber. They haven't made a video about it and don't appear to be intending to make a video about it. It's going to be very important for a small number of Ioniq 5 owners that have gotten the battery preconditioning update but are having issues with it. So let's get started. So first off, I want to give a big thank you to Corbin at the Ioniq guy. He is the one who supplied this information via a contact that he has with the engineering group at Hyundai Motor America. So big thank you to him. This is very important information, again, to a relatively small number of us, but still very important. So as you may remember, I've gone over this in another video. Hyundai released an update for early 2022 Ioniq 5 vehicles with all-wheel drive here in the US to activate the battery conditioning system that the vehicle was supposed to have come with from the beginning, but didn't. So this software update was released at the end of December, I believe, 2022. For a small number of us, the software update was installed, but battery preconditioning does not work. In fact, it doesn't appear that anything was done on the vehicle, myself included. On my vehicle, I had the battery preconditioning update installed while the vehicle was at the dealer between February 2nd and February 6th. I don't know the exact date that they installed it, but that's when it was at the dealership. And when I got it back, eco mode was unchanged. I've done a video about how the early software updates for battery preconditioning substantially slowed down eco mode. Mine was unchanged. I still have winter mode showing on my center display in the EV settings. I don't have the battery preconditioning mode that's supposed to be there. And of course, most importantly, the battery preconditioning just doesn't work. I've gone on a couple of road trips now where that would have been very helpful because I was charging while it was cold and it just doesn't work. So I'm going to go over the information here that Corbin has given to me. I'll put it up here on the screen. So this is a screenshot of what he received from his contact, which you can see down at the bottom there. The name is blanked out, but the person is an electric vehicle systems engineer with Hyundai Motor America. So let's go over this information. I'll read it off and then we'll sort of digest what it means because some of this gets to be pretty technical. So for the vehicles that were updated, for a few brief days between January 25th and January 30th, according to them, a later BMS update event 913 was posted to dealers. It was expected to provide a later level of improvement. Vehicles were successfully updated at HMA, but our vehicles already had T9Q done. So basically, Hyundai appears to call their different software updates by event number. It's sort of like a software revision number. They just call it event number for some reason. So the original event number for the battery preconditioning update, which is T9Q, that's talked about there, the original version or event number was 892. So Hyundai Korea released event 913. And Hyundai Motor America reasonably assumed, that it was supposed to be a later revision of that same 892 software update. So they say here vehicles were successfully updated at Hyundai Motor America, but our vehicles that already had the previous event 892 update done. That's the T9Q, the software, the technical service bulletin original. Later, they learned about dealers experiencing the issue of no battery preconditioning showing in the AVN is the, I think it's the audio video node, which is the basically the center screen where you'd have all of your radio information, navigation, everything. That's the AVN. So no battery preconditioning shown in AVN after installing this later software. Checking with Korea, we learned that the event 913 required that the prior software update, T9Q BMS event 892, had to be done first before event 913 could be applied. An unusual requirement, normally the updated events apply to all past vehicles without conditions. So what they're saying there is typically with software updates on vehicles, they're cumulative. So if you have a later software update, that later software update will typically include all of the previous software updates that came before it. The only time that manufacturers typically don't do that is if there is a very special circumstance that covers just a small number of vehicles that needs a separate software update just for that small circumstance. For example, if you had a car that was built with a transmission that had a small batch of clutches installed in it, that with those clutches and the original software, it caused a firm shift. You would, for just those specific vehicles that were experiencing that specific complaint, have a separate software update just to address that one problem. But you wouldn't have that updated software be put into all of the rest of the vehicles, because it would be trying to address a problem that doesn't exist in those cars. That's, as far as I know, the only situation typically where vehicle manufacturers release software updates that are not cumulative like that. So that's what they're saying here, that it was an unusual requirement and that normally any of the later software events just sort of overwrite and overlap with the previous ones. So they released this software without realizing that you had to do the prior software update first before this later one was done. So they said once they realized that, we pulled event night 13 from dealers after several days, but vehicles that had been updated in that period were affected. So that includes me, although my vehicle was updated very shortly after this period that they're showing here. Again, my car was at the dealership between February 2nd and February 6th, but I'm having this issue. So it could just be that the dates that they have mentioned are not completely accurate. It says here that a TSB will not be issued for this since it is a brief issue. So this special instruction is provided to dealers to correct. So basically, they estimate that such a small number of vehicles were updated during that period of time where they had the incorrect software update up there. So they're not going to release a TSB. Now, TSB is a technical service bulletin. I'll show here what the technical service bulletin looks like for the original battery preconditioning update. This is basically information that a vehicle manufacturer releases to their dealership network and then eventually to third party and independent shops to help sort of aid with diagnostic issues. So, required resolution by dealer. Perform GDS manual update back to event 892. So what that step is saying is that with the global diagnostic system, the GDS, that's Hyundai's factory scan tool and software update system, they need to go into manual mode and manually install event 892. Typically with the Hyundai software, when you're doing a software update, you will use auto mode. And in that case, it just will automatically install the latest software that's available for that vehicle. If you need to install something else other than the latest software, which is very, very rare, you have to switch it to manual mode. And I believe in manual mode, you have to use a password to be able to install a specific older software revision, because again, the circumstances under which you would normally do that are very, very small. So just going back one step here, what I had mentioned is that when you're doing a software update using the Hyundai software, which I have used in the past, typically you would just stay in auto mode and you would select whichever control module on the vehicle that you wanted to update, and the software would just automatically pick the latest software update available for that system. That's what the auto mode is. And if we go in here to the original technical service bulletin for the battery preconditioning update, it talks about those event numbers here. So you need to update the battery management system as well as the vehicle control unit with event numbers 892 and 894. So it appears that the problem that they're having is with the battery management system here, the software that's updated there. But if you'll notice with the asterisk there, it says, or select the latest available event number that displays in GDS. So that's kind of where the problem shows up here. They were showing the latest event number when vehicles like mine were being updated at the end of January or beginning of February. The latest event number was event 913 because of some sort of miscommunication or maybe a misprogramming. Hyundai Motor America receives that software from Korea and they just sort of pass it along. They don't necessarily get all the information that they need to from the engineers in Korea. They're just sort of handed this information saying, here you go. What they understood was that event 913 was a supersession of event 892. And so they took down event 892 and replaced it with event 913. And that was a mistake. Event 892 needed to be installed first and then event 913. So that appears to be what the problem is. So basically, if you are like me and you've had the battery preconditioning update installed on your vehicle, but it's not working and you're still showing winter mode, and it was done during this time period of the end of January to the beginning of February, it sounds like you need to go back to your dealer, give them this information. I will put a link to this information down in the description, and just have them update with that older previous revision of the software, that event 892. Now, while you're at the dealer getting this stuff fixed, there are actually 2 additional software updates, or potentially 1 additional software update that you should get. One software update is there to address the slow eco mode, which I made a video about. I'll put it up there. And the other one is an update to install some additional software features on the vehicle. Corbin at the Ioniq guy has already gone over that. I will link to his video covering that. He covers it pretty well. I don't need to repeat it again. He also has a copy of the technical service bulletin that goes over it. So I will again leave a link to that down in the description. So my vehicle will be going in for this software update to get it fixed here in a couple of weeks. I don't have availability myself, and my dealer doesn't have availability any earlier than that, which is unfortunate. I really would like to get this fixed, but that's the way it goes. So once I get this update done, I will report back and hopefully everything will be fixed, because this has turned into quite the debacle. Anyway, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching.